Hey historians, today we're going to be talking about not just slavery, but the case against slavery when we're doing our social studies test questions prep. All right, so as always, when you see the question, press pause, take a moment to read and answer, then press play, and we'll go over it together. Let's get started. Which of the following was an argument made against slavery in the 13 colonies? First thing we want to do is see what the question is asking. Okay, so we're looking for an argument made against slavery. Well, what can we eliminate here? Manufacturers argued that slavery discouraged the development of industry. Farmers argued that using slave labor was expensive and ineffective. Quakers argued that slavery violated Christian principles. And Puritans argued that the slave trade encouraged materialism. So the first thing we see here is that farmers arguing against slave labor because it was expensive and ineffective, well, that doesn't make any sense, because all kinds of farmers across the South either had slaves or wanted to have slaves. And so it just really doesn't make any sense that those same farmers who were the chief holders of slaves throughout the American colonies would have been the ones saying, no, we don't want slaves. Then why did they have them? So that one just doesn't make sense. And then next we look at the one that says manufacturers argued that slavery discouraged the development of industry. Well, slave labor might not have been one of the key factors directly in the industry of maybe some of the northern colonies. The use of slaves really did help propel the production of raw goods and therefore the development of industry later on. So again, that's another one that just doesn't make much sense. Why would the people producing all of these things that had free labor be the ones arguing against it? All right, so what do we need to know? Well, we need to know a thing or two about the Quakers, because they were a religious group that were very strict in their beliefs, which wasn't unusual for the time, of course. But they were very, very strong in their public promotion and their private beliefs, of course, for the Abolitionist Movement. Abolitionist Movement is simply the abolishment. Abolitionists abolish. They're going to try to end slavery. That's what they were pushing for. Many of the people who gave safe passage to runaway slaves in the Underground Railroad were, in fact, Quakers. So we need to just know who the Quakers were. And if we know that the Quakers were very anti-slavery, very much in the promotion, very strong in the promotion of the abolitionist movement, then this answer becomes quite clear. Quakers argued that slavery violated Christian principles. So let's talk a little bit about who these Quakers were and what the abolitionist movement was. So William Penn was an early American Quaker, and he formed the colony of Pennsylvania. Makes a lot of sense when you look at his name. And eventually he helped plan and develop the city of Philadelphia as well. The Quakers were well known to be advocates for democracy, religious freedom and tolerance, human rights, and fair treatment of Indians. So the Quakers had a lot of things going for them, one of which was the abolition movement, the abolishment of slavery. And so that's something that we need to remember when we think of the Quakers. And one of the things that from the early times of the colonial period all the way through and even after the Civil War, the Quakers were a big role-playing group in terms of the abolitionist movement.